Careful what you say or you'll get too big.
You did it. Success with the opening.
Yeah,
we'll see. We'll see how the closing goes.
Well, you're not drinking tonight, so you'll be fine.
It might make it worse that I'm not drinking tonight.
yeah.
Now there's no excuses though. So
I know.
pressure's
I
on.
feel the pressure.
Now you're not funny drunk Tim. You're just dull, boring Tim.
Or I'm just plain Tim. Just plain Tim. Well, welcome everybody to the show. I had non-alcoholic coffee. This is terrible. So tonight we're going to talk about The Conjuring, right? The Devil Made Me Do It. Such a fine piece of art. Hey, John. We brought on a guest, JD Sword, who has actually done some research on this very topic. He has a published paper. I think we have a link to that. So I think he can speak to more specifics. Is it okay to put that link in here so people can click it?
Sure.
Yeah.
Hey, Bob.
Hey, Bob.
Hi, Bob.
Hey, John.
John.
Oh, look at that. Nice.
4 tortured souls.
That's right. It's 4 tortured souls tonight.
Stepping it
Yeah,
up
so I got
tonight.
that up there.
This movie was so spectacular. We needed 4 of us to tackle it.
Dave loved it.
Dave loved it the
Okay.
best out of all of us.
As a horror movie, it was great. But if you think about it based on true stories, fuck me.
Oh, we're gonna get into both aspects tonight.
Right.
Hey, Diane. Steve.
I watched this twice.
Ooh.
Yeah, the second time to take notes. So
I
Was
get-
it better the second?
I've earned my way
viewing?
into purgatory.
I kind of watched it twice because when you said you watched it, you're watching it again. I was like, fuck. All right, now I got to watch it again because I got to make sure I get, if I'm going to trash it, I got to make sure I get it right. So I kind of watched it. I was doing like 2 other projects at the same time. It was on the TV. So maybe 1.5 times. Doesn't really count.
This is a good question, something I was going to put up. Are there going to be spoilers?
Yes.
I imagine there's going to end up being spoilers.
Yes, definitely.
What
But
are you spoiling, really?
yeah, I
Come
was just going to say, but if you think about it, it's a Conjuring movie, so cookie cutter that bad boy into another title, and you got the same.
I mean, it is based on a real story anyway, so you kind of know how it ends.
Right.
All right. Well, I guess just first impressions. We'll go around and then we'll kind of talk about it. Again, JD has an article out there for it. I'm really happy to have him on to talk about it. He has done research with this, in particular, not necessarily the movie, but actually the report and the allegations that the movie came from. The rest of us just watched the movie and tried not to harm ourselves while we were doing it.
Where did that come from?
I'm just saying, like there was a time. Anyway,
Nobody wants to watch the 3 self-harming souls.
Well, there's at least one person we know of that would.
I'll go out. I'll start, and I'll just kind of start out saying, for Dave, like I guess there was some moments in the movie that, for us, just a pure scary movie, it was pretty good. It was all right. There were some good jump scenes, and take that for what you want. But on the second watching, there was some things I got into with the details of it that we'll get into with the rest of it for the show. But based on a true story, I don't know, that movie just didn't do it justice. So just did not. So with that, I'll go with. I'm going to save Dave for last. I'll go with Kenny.
Oh, damn.
Dave enjoyed it so much. I really want to give him special time.
Let him wrap up every segment. Just the head shaking says it all.
Oh boy, let me grab my stress ball here.
So I'm mixed on this. I'm not as just a movie. If we separate it and look at it as just a horror film, and then just like based on a true story, even as the horror film, I didn't like it. I actually liked the first two better in the horror genre thing. We lost JD. But I liked it that way. Well, no, this one I did not like. I wasn't impressed. I felt like I love movies, so when I start watching a movie, I try to disconnect from what I know about it, because I know I'm just going to be pissed off. But I saw elements of like Harry Potter, and there was I forget the name of it, the sequel to The Shining.
Dr. Sleep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I saw
that.
that.
Was a good movie, actually.
The whole connection thing, the link, psychic link, and then it just became like a good witch versus bad witch kind of thing, and I was like, "What the fuck am I watching? This is not it." I'm all for jump scares, but like I didn't jump at all. I was like, all right, this is predictable. I found it very predictable, so I wasn't impressed on that part of it. On the other side, yeah, I mean, from the start, right from the beginning, with the opening text that comes up, I was like, nope, that's wrong. That's wrong. Nope, no. And, the skeptic in me was screaming, pounding on the side of my head, going, nope, you shouldn't watch this. You really shouldn't watch this. And I want to say just in the beginning, too, that I know it's just a movie. So if anyone wants to make that comment, go ahead. I'm going to ignore it. I know it's just a movie. But my big concern with this is that it's based on a true story. And therefore, the people that believe and idolize the Warrens are going to take this and take the storyline and incorporate it into their belief of what already happened. And you're going to mix up the elements of the story, the dramatic made-up story, and what really happened. And you're going to see YouTube videos where the real story of this, and it's going to incorporate the bullshit. So that's my concern. That's why I'm so passionate about this. And just because I fucking hate the Warrens. So, that's my opening statements. I'll shoot it up to JD.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with everything you said. I haven't seen the movie, but I am familiar with the case that it's based on, and it's an interesting case. It's rather straightforward, and I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about that more in detail. But yeah, I kind of share your concerns in that the people who were impacted most by this case are still alive. At least some of them are still alive. And, this kind of is just going to drum up more interest in the Warrens and the way that they kind of exploited the case, and in my opinion, I think that they exploited it to make a buck, and they kind of did it at the expense of the family's reputations.
Yeah.
I don't think that they're getting anything out of this movie, financially or otherwise.
That is a fantastic point.
It doesn't necessarily make the family, at least, from what I read of the plot synopsis. Again, I haven't seen the film, but you guys can probably speak to that more. But, it didn't seem to me like the film necessarily focused much on the family or attempted to paint them in more of a heroic light.
Yeah, it really, it kind of just started with that, and that's what we saw with the trailer kind of thing. Like it led you to believe this was going to be on the case, but then it just took a severe left turn, did a 360-degree spin around, and then went off in some direction. I have no freaking clue where it went.
360 spin around like Reagan's head in The Exorcist.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't like the fact that it, continues to negatively impact people who are still alive that were associated with the real case, and it really just comes across as, I would kind of be okay with it if I thought it was pure entertainment, but I also get the sense that it's yet another kind of vehicle to prop up the Warrens and kind of puff up their legend and stuff at the expense of everybody else.
Right.
Everybody else is either kind of just a secondary thought, or they're used as scapegoats to blame for the supernatural goings on that happens in these kind of films.
JD brought up some questions for me. So what about like the use of their name? Like, will the family have to give consent to use their name or use their personal information? I don't know. It's a genuine question. It kind of seems like it would be, but if it's public knowledge or public record in...
Not if it was part of the court case, which
yes,
probably is, if they were
that's what I
saying
was
it
going
was
with.
the devil made me do it, part of the court case. All those details would supposedly be in it, I would think.
Right.
The names.
Yep. And
I
that's
think there was
Public
something.
information.
There was something that came up, and I'm not sure if it was this case, but it had to do with the parents, because I believe the parents signed off on the story, and because the kids were underage, they were speaking for them, and I think that's the loophole.
That seems right, because I remember. Well, in the article that I was writing, I actually did reach out and I spoke to the boy in the movie and the real case that was allegedly possessed.
David.
Yes, David. I spoke to his brother Carl, and judging from what he had said, the family did receive some kind of monetary recompense from the book that the Warrens co-published.
Which I wonder if they got some from the movie then, at least a little bit.
I don't know. Well, I don't know, because I'm assuming that the parents are both deceased at this point, based on the ages of what I would estimate Carl and David to be. But I don't know what kind of deal, like what kind of details might have gone into them receiving the money in exchange for the book, what kind of like rights they might have signed away for it.
Right.
Whether or not that extended, because I'm trying to think if I don't remember if they made like a made for TV movie.
They did.
Okay.
There was, yeah, and I think it was called The Haunting or something like that. There was a made for TV movie, yeah.
Because I wasn't sure if they had any kind of involvement with that, or if they had to sign away any kind of rights for that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think a haunting, wasn't that the Smurl case? I'm not sure that was this one, but that could have been the Smurl case. But yeah, it's hard to tell because they signed the rights, or they had the TV, the book, and then this, and then with the Warrens having passed away, I wouldn't assume. Well, who knows? But I wouldn't think they or their estates getting anything. There's really nobody left to get anything.
Is there like an executor of their estate?
What's that?
Do they have like an executor for their estate?
I have no idea. I don't have any idea. I mean, that would be an interesting side note that Tim could go down the rabbit hole and see where the money tracks to and who got paid for this.
I was going to say, if anything, I would almost like to see.
They've passed away. They would probably be the biggest financial beneficiaries from this if it was still around, but I don't know. Anyway.
If anything, I'd like to see other people maybe like profiting off of them is kind of like a eye for an eye, in the way that they exploited people when they were alive. But
yeah.
So Dave, what did you think of the movie?
Thanks for making me watch it. So as a scary movie, a horror movie, I actually really liked it. So I'll disagree with Kenny on this one. I liked it. And it could be because I haven't seen the other ones. Now, because I had to pay for a month of a streaming service to watch this, I will most likely go back and watch the rest of them. So thank you very much. But no, for a horror movie, I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. It was one of the few recent ones that I've watched that I didn't get to the end and go, wait, what? I actually followed it. Maybe because I was taking notes for the show that I paid attention. I wasn't just thinking, I need some more popcorn. Anyway, I liked it as a horror movie, but as a based on true events, I mean, I looked a little bit at the actual case. I read JD's article. I read a couple other things, and it's like any other movie. It really takes a lot of creative liberty. And one of the things I noticed right off the bat, I made a note, they were filming The Exorcism, supposedly. And then they, at the end, when they were showing pictures of the actual, from supposedly, I'm going to say supposedly those pictures and audio were from the actual exorcism. They showed the camera tipped over like they did in the movie. So where the hell are those tapes? They got to have at least a couple of them. I mean, the audio.
6 minutes and 50 seconds in. And where is the evidence? Where's the tape?
I mean, I have so many smart ass comments in my notes about it because it was based on true events. I mean, one I just started laughing when the kid's jumping on the waterbed and the demon pops out and pulls him. I'm like, fill that fucking waterbed with holy water. Probably
about a problem.
I don't know. I just based on true events, boy, some of the stuff, some of the little things they showed, like a little bit of object movement, some pounding, some steps, doors rattling. Okay, that's stuff people report in some other haunting, poltergeist, or demon cases. So that was okay. But the rest of it, I mean, the big scratches on the wall as you're dragging the kid down the stairs, and it's like, come on. Where are the pictures? Where's all that stuff? So great horror movie based on true events. Whew, that's a stretch.
That's a stretch.
Yeah, John, I did timestamp. I timestamped mine. I did. Just so if you want to skip all that stuff, you can go right back and look at all the stuff that I was.
You could do like Tim's highlight reel. Like here are the best parts of the film.
You know how you see those videos of like fan reactions to when a certain very famous Star Wars character showed up in The Mandalorian? Mm-hmm. We should have those of us. Like, 3 tortured souls reactions to these movies.
So many times to be like, oh fuck, come on.
Here we go. Hold on.
Put the gun down. Put the gun down.
We'll do our reaction to ghost hunting TV shows. There's going to be a lot of F-bombs and drinking.
Yeah.
And eye rolling.
One of my eye rolls, and I'll just throw this out here, was the lawyer scene. When they went and talked to the lawyer, they had the characters of Ed and Lorraine talking to the lawyer. And it was the first time they brought up the defense for demonic possession. And the lawyer's like, no, I'm not going to do it. And Ed's like, well, you know what? Come out to our museum. We'll introduce you to Annabelle. And if you're still not convinced, then we'll back off. And then the next scene, they're in court. And the lawyer's like, freaking out. I'm like, you gotta be, that was my major eye roll. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
Another one of mine was when the priest first showed up in the beginning to start the exorcism. He steps out of the car, dark lighting, house in the background, kind of backlit. He looks at the house. I'm like, boy, that looks a lot like The Exorcist.
Yes, I thought the same thing.
Right down the crapper.
I'm like, is that the fucking cover? They just did the cover of the movie. Wow.
I was waiting for James Woods to show up from Scary Movie.
To add to that, though, on that very scene, they put his face had fear. Like he was concerned. He wasn't bold. His energy, I'm going to use that correctly. His demeanor was not.
You fucked up. You said the word.
Open my coffee. His demeanor was not that of sureness and boldness and assertion. It was fear. And I think what bothered me throughout many scenes in this movie were professionals that are experts in their field were looked at as being scared and indecisive, while the Warrens were there just going, oh, this is so simple. If you'd have just done this. Right. And
that's because they're the real experts.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. But yeah, so his opening scene was, hold on. I'll add liquor to it when I get home. Yeah, I didn't like that. And I picked that up throughout the whole show.
I didn't, to build on that, I didn't like when the kid in the beginning, he gets he gets in the bathtub, he's possessed, and Ed, I'm going to call him Ed because that's his character, is carrying the kid downstairs, and the priest is like, all right, let's go to the church, let's start it now, and Ed's like, no, we're doing it now, we need to do it now. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. This is the fucking priest. Like, he's the one that's supposed to be in charge, not you lay person con artist. No, you don't give the orders.
Damn it, Kenny. That was my number one. That was my number one bitch about the whole thing.
Oh, hold on a second. Let me. No, I thought I had a fuck to give, and I don't. Sorry. Sorry.
I love it.
I'm all out of them. They're all gone.
At the very beginning of the show, if he would have listened to the expert, the whole rest of the movie would have been not.
Yeah.
I mean, it might have been a different movie. It might have been a different story.
Movie. Yeah.
But he ignored at least what you would consider the expert in the room, his professional advice to take him to the church. And he said no right now.
And one of the things I want to bring up with that compared to real life events was that there was no formal exorcism. There wasn't any. And the reason being was that the mother refused to have the psychological testing that was required for it.
So then where does the priest part come in on the movie? They totally fabricated? Because they would not have done the exorcism.
Right.
Well,
I believe so. Good.
From what I read, the Vatican did admit that there were, I think, 3 priests, and I don't remember their names, but it is there are in the article.
Larry
that evaluated the case. The Warrens claimed that they had requested an official exorcism to be performed, and that an exorcism or a series of exorcisms was performed. The Vatican, from what I've read, basically said, yes, we did send priests to investigate the case. No, there was no formal request, and no, we did not perform exorcisms.
But I thought it wasn't the Vatican; it's the bishop that has to.
The bishop for like the particular
that area.
Yeah,
that's it.
A representative or a spokesman for the bishop of the diocese basically said, yes, we did investigate the case. No, they did not make any kind of formal request, and no, we did not perform any exorcisms.
So, I believe, and I actually looked into this, and I could be wrong, but I looked into this when I did the whole Zach Baggins Demon House thing, because exorcism came up, and the idea of lesser exorcism came up, and I believe lesser exorcisms, which is what the Warrens claim that they did, can be performed by lay people.
Yes. So
they
did. So lesser exorcisms are basically just a series of prayers that anybody can read.
Right.
The rite of exorcism is considered a major exorcism and can only be performed by ordained priests with the approval of the bishop of a diocese.
And is that what they were doing in the beginning then with the Warrens?
So in the beginning,
while they were waiting for the priest to get there, or are they just fucking around?
I think that's creative licensing. Yeah, because that's in the real story. That's the point where the Warrens claimed that they demanded the names of the demons inside the boy, and they got 43 or 42. There's different numbers that I get, but average about 43 names. And that's what they claim, that there were 43 demons in this 11-year-old, not 8-year-old boy. Because the film says the kid was 8, but he was actually 11 when it happened. So that's a lot of people in one little body.
Crowded in there. There's no more room.
But that's what really pissed me off. There was no formal exorcism. Yeah, and like JD said, like there was nothing that was sanctioned, but they did have priests that investigated it. But nothing was formal because they refused the psychological testing. And that's a big red flag. Like, why? And there's a People magazine article that I dug up from 1981.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, let's see, refused to sanction the Catholic rite because the Glatzel family had not consented to the psychological testing required to eliminate mental illness as a factor. David's mother defended her decision, telling the Washington Post, "They just want to stick needles into my kid. There's no way in hell," ironically, "they're going to do that." So that was their reasoning. And I mean, later on, it did come out, and I have my notes all over the place, but I guess their regular doctor had actually said that here it is. In November of 1980, the boy was termed by his family physician as normal with a minimal learning disability. And they enrolled him in a private school for, these are their words, not mine, disturbed children. So we're seeing that there was a mental illness condition here. There was an issue here, but the mother refused to have him test it. Therefore, they went with the Warrens instead. Which, why?
I mean, that is something that, in his correspondence with me, Carl did confirm, was that his brother, at the time had some form of mental illness, and basically everything that was interpreted by the Warrens as, evidence of demonic possession, I guess, was basically, delusions or hallucinations on David's part.
Right.
Yeah.
So what else? What else we got?
I can go down my timestamps, but
Go ahead.
No,
Timestamp.
I'll have to go with. I'm going to save the one that pissed me off the most to the last. But I found it very interesting that breaking into a mortuary in the middle of the night is just fine. fucking around with corpses, and one of them that's evidence and probably a felony murder investigation, which now has been tainted and probably will get thrown out because of their involvement in messing around with it. Is cool. I guess it's fine. Well, yeah, we'll leave a note.
We'll leave a note. It's all good.
It's all good.
Like,
hey, we went and fucked with your major evidence in a criminal investigation. It's good. No problem.
Not only that, but they also, I mean, through the movie. So, spoiler, of course, but they break into the morgue. They go to the body of a young lady that they want to make a connection with, but through an entire subplot of fabrication, which we can get into later, another body gets up and starts running around.
I thought I was watching The Walking Dead for a minute there. I'm like, where did that come from?
All I could think of, and I think people our age will get this reference, but I was like, oh my god, it's Ugly Naked Guy. It's Ugly Naked Guy. That's what it is. Like this big fat ugly naked guy that's dead.
This happens right around 103 minutes and 36 seconds of
Jesus. He's really right on the point there.
Messing with the corpses is 111 minutes and 20
right.
The other one that got me is Father Kastner, and the one comment he made, I made a big star. He said the why is irrelevant. And I'm like, oh, everything we talk about. And when you're trying to solve a mystery, or you're trying to investigate something or conduct a research project, the number one question, or at least one of them, is why. And they just brushed off that whole thing. Why is this happening? Whoa, well, the why is irrelevant. It's like, what? Seriously? Well, to me, that was just a...
Can I interrupt for a second? Because
jump in.
Doesn't the majority of the film then explore the why and not so much the case itself?
Yep.
Because I was going to say, I haven't even seen the film, but that sounds like the complete opposite of what I read happens.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
that's a good point.
It's the Warrens, so it doesn't have to make sense.
Well, it was actually in the Warrens. It was the Warrens were asking the why. It was the priest, the old retired priest who had a major role. We won't give the spoiler quite yet, but had a major role in what happened or why it happened. But maybe he was still trying to cover it up after all those years. Whoa. We don't need to talk about why. It's fine. Just deal with it.
Right. But that goes into like the big issue that I had. I'm hearing an echo. Is that better? All right, it's gone. So like one of the big issues, like there's I have a big three here that are complete fabrications for the movie. And I would venture to guess, and this is just speculation here, 90%, 95% of the film was completely made up for the film. But one of the things was this retired priest and his I don't want to give too much away, but spoilers, yeah, his daughter, which is an occultist that is the bad witch, like this magical, like true magic powers, like Scarlet Witch kind of shit going on, like completely made up for this film, and it drove the entire plot. Like she was one of the major plot points, and it was just, it overshadowed everything. That's when I started going like, when did we start watching Harry Potter? Like what's going on here? They got this link. It's like Voldemort and Harry Potter. Like, oh, we can see each other.
Mhm.
What's going on here?
I am her, Ed.
I am her.
I am her.
The link works both ways. I'm like, oh, yeah.
If I could do a parcel tongue impersonation, I would do it right now. But I can't.
But you know, that's one of the things that straddles both sides of just trying to watch it as a movie and also watching it as I know what this is based off of. It just took it away because now I'm seeing this other movie in here. Two other movies, because I'm also seeing that I keep forgetting, the Shining sequel,
Dr. Sleep.
Dr. Sleep. Yeah, I keep seeing both of those movies, those plot points in those movies in this film, and I'm like, all right, so they just recycled this. That sucks. That kind of kills.
It wasn't even a good like twist.
Yeah, it really wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
All
right, I got one. So, David. So when I guess Arnie took the demon from David, at what point did they think it? Yeah. At what point did any of those people that were there think it was a good idea to leave him alone? I mean, didn't they see the shit that just happened to David? And they're like, "Oh, we're good." Lorraine's just like, "I'm going to follow Ed to the hospital," and everybody else is, he wakes. Good. The next scene, he's in bed, looking happy. Like at some point, didn't they think like, "Hey, maybe someone should keep an eye on this dude just for like a little bit"?
Even
he ate 43
that,
demons.
Even before that, pretty much the demon tried to stop Ed Warren's heart, which is there any medical records around that show that he had a heart attack? He had a stent put in, that he had to take his magic pills. That, I mean, for such a smart guy, he kept forgetting to take them everywhere he went.
Yeah.
So you got two things. Maybe, Tim, to kind of answer your question, maybe it's because they were more concerned about Ed laying on the floor after the demon almost stopped his heart. And the young kid, they're like, "Oh, he'll be fine. He's just possessed. We can deal with that in the next 30 minutes."
He's a young buck. He'll recover.
Yeah. And then just the same thing though with Arnie. I think the next day he gets attacked by the old woman.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And he like, isn't that a good moment to go, maybe I should call someone?
No, Tim, you gotta wait for Ed to wake up from his medical emergency to tell you to go deal with that.
I mean, you just saw an 8-year-old boy go pretzel on a board, kick the shit out of 3 grown men. You sucked in 43 demons from that kid voluntarily, and then you get attacked the next day by who knows what the hell. And you're like, I'm fine. I'm good. I ain't got to call nobody.
Yeah,
I shouldn't. My girlfriend that I'm going to live with and love, when she goes, "What's wrong?" Nothing.
It's all right.
It's all right. Tis but a scratch.
So in the film, did the Warrens ever come back around to that and, tell them like, "Hey, I got a bad feeling about this"?
Oh, yeah. I have something about that too.
Okay.
Wait, before we move on. So I want to bitch about the cracking contortion possession effect. I'm tired of it. Hollywood, please stop. Every fucking demon movie has it. It's not what happens. I'm tired of seeing it. And
Go
the
back to the
crab
head
walk
thing.
inverted kind of thing that he did. And to build off of what you guys were saying, like when the kid throws everyone off and then he jumps up, lands on Ed, starts, stopping his heart. Where the fuck is everyone? Like nobody went to sleep. And I can only imagine, like, this was a long scene. Like, what are they doing? Just all standing around going, oh, okay. I don't know what to do. You got a priest on the floor. I mean, he's hurt. Yeah. You got the one sister, you got Lorraine, you got the kid, Arnie, that I don't know, for some reason waits to pick up the little kid and challenge the demon.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ed's on the floor with the kid. So like everyone's just kind of standing around.
Well, see, Ed was giving the priest orders, so with Ed out of commission, like nobody knew what to do.
Well,
I think the priest was half out of it too, though,
priest was
because he got zinged in the head by a plate.
Nobody called an ambulance. I remember hearing somebody going, "Get the first aid kit." You got the whole scene. Like there's a tornado in the living room going around. Shit, it looks like the Poltergeist movie.
Exactly, Carol Ann's room.
Yeah, Carol Ann's room.
But they didn't hit anybody with a plate.
Yeah, but I was like, damn, this is a little over the top. A little over the top for me, and no one's doing anything.
Everybody was filming it so they can put it on TikTok later.
We're gonna make $1 million on this.
All right, so go ahead, Tim. I'm done.
Oh no, that's good. So related just to that, when Ed wakes up, he tells Lorraine to call Gledsa. What's the name? What the family name?
Glatzel.
Thank you. Her response is, "It's over. The demon's gone. David is safe."
Yeah.
But does not seem to recognize or remember it was no big deal. So at this point, it's over. The demon's gone. I mean, they know what happened to it, didn't they?
Lorraine, the psychic,
the expert,
doesn't realize that it jumped into another person. But she can have a psychic connection with the bad witch that's miles away. That's fine. But being in the same room with the demon-possessed kid or the newly possessed kid, she had no idea.
I just don't, for the expert level that we're talking about here, I don't know how many cases. I really don't pay much attention or follow them. I don't know how many they claim to have had. I don't know how many they did have. But at some point, they're certainly looked upon as experts of this.
Mm-hmm.
They could have missed the 43 demons going into Arnie. Surely. And the next day, her response is, "It's over. The demon's gone. David's safe." Yeah, David's safe. It's because Arnie sucked all the demons out of him. At some point, it just looks like as just basic client care. You would go, how about we follow up with Arnie?
At some point, they did claim that they warned them in some capacity that, basically this wasn't all over. I don't know how detailed that warning was. It obviously wasn't very effective, or they couldn't act on it. But
so yeah, as I read more into it, the actual case, it was there were like outbursts from Arnie in the weeks and months afterwards, where he became like he was angry, but he had a history of this, apparently. Like the more I read into it, the more he wasn't like this all the time nice guy. He had a temper and he had some issues. So I think it built up, and then in classic Lorraine Warren fashion, she jumped on that idea and called in October. In October, I forget the timeline, but she called later and said there was going to be a tragedy, but it was months apart. It wasn't like the film depicted where she called and it's like it was happening just right there at that same time. It was
because the actual murder that he commits, supposedly under the influence of, those 42 demons. That took place in like February.
Yes,
So, yeah, it was a couple
February of
months.
81.
During that time period, he also claimed that he like wrecked his car or nearly wrecked his car.
Yeah.
And that somehow had something to do with, with the demons, which, all I could think was if you were recognizing at the time that something wasn't quite right, why wouldn't you have done something about that?
Called the
Yeah.
Warrens back, maybe.
Yeah, something.
I think the Lorraine called in the police in October, the previous October, and said something was going to happen. So yeah, we're talking from October, November, December, January, February. That's when the murder took place. So this is not like the film depicted within minutes or at the same time.
Yeah, the next day.
Because if there's that much time stretching forward, people are going to start thinking, that seems kind of weird.
Yeah.
All that time passed and you didn't do anything about it.
Right.
So who was it who asked how many cases they supposedly investigated?
Me.
The source of all knowledge, Wikipedia, 10,000.
Let's do the math.
I know. I was going to say that.
I think I can do this math.
Say that.
I think I can do this math. So 10,000 cases.
How many years were they in operation?
Let's see.
Let me
Let's
see.
just do 10,000 by 365 will give you how many years?
So 365. That gives you 27 years. 27.3 years. So if you're doing a case
One
every
case a
single day,
Yeah.
Every day,
that's 27 years.
Are you
saying
Wikipedia might not be correct?
how long does it
What the hell?
take to wrap up a case? That's assuming that
Right.
they're going from case to case to case per day.
And I mean, we can read in the reports, and I've read this
boy.
in several of the cases that they've like the Perrin family with the actual Conjuring house, and then the other cases that even the Enfield, they claim to be there for days and days. Like over
The
course of
Enfield
several
case,
weeks.
they had multiple people there for days, for long periods of time.
So yeah, you're talking this would have had to been. I would estimate like 90 years. That's if you spend 3 days on every single case. You're at 90 fucking years.
If we're gonna keep doing the Harry Potter references, maybe they had like a time turner to let them do all these cases.
I have one of those.
Well, maybe
Good.
they're counting cases as demons.
Oh, okay.
David would have had 43 demons, so
This
that
was
would
a
have been
big
43
one.
cases.
Yeah.
Interesting thing I want to bring up too about money, because I did come across the 1981 article that I read through. They actually referenced this, that because it's always I always hear the excuse, well, the Warrens never charged for their investigations.
Where did they get that nice house from?
I'll
Like
get to that.
illegal.
I'll get to that in a second. So they did charge for lectures. They made money off the books that they're written, and going around and all the lecture series that they did. This is what I'm focusing on because it's quoted in here as saying, although they, Ed and Lorraine, accept no fees for conducting demonic investigations, they lecture persistently at up to $1,000 per lecture. This is in 1981. So I plugged that into a calculator, an inflation calculator for today's
calculator.
I know. I was getting my smarts on. And that increased significantly to almost $3,000. So $2,961.44. So if they're doing even one lecture every weekend, they're at $150,000.
That's interesting.
In today's money.
I was just reading through the Newsweek story, and one of the paragraphs in an interview with mass media distribution Newswire, Carl said, "My brother was never possessed. He, along with my family, was manipulated and exploited, something the Warrens were very good at. And along with their author, Gerald Brittle, they concocted a phony story about demons in an attempt to get rich and famous at our expense, and we have the evidence to prove it."
I can't wait for that book.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That should be cool.
I'll buy that book.
Yeah,
When
I'll
was
buy
this
that book.
This
About
was
that book.
written 6/4/21, so it's recent.
I
think
I
he's been
really
trying
want to buy that
publish
book.
the book for quite a while.
Yeah.
Because he started giving interviews. Well, back in 2006, when I think Ed died, they re-released the book that he and Gerald Brittle had wrote,
Right.
and that's when Carl and David
Mm.
sued Lorraine Warren and
Everyone
Gerald
else.
Brittle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And started, he started giving interviews talking about it. And I think back then he mentioned he was working on a book. So,
Yeah.
if assuming it's the same project, that's been in the works for quite some time.
I'm really curious as to what he's got. I'd love to see what he's got. Oh, that'd be great.
Might come out if this keeps up.
Whatever happened to the parents? I don't know.
JD might.
I don't know. I haven't really read anything. Carl didn't really speak much about it. As far as I know, the only thing positive, if you could say that came out of it was, I think the parents got like $2,000 from the book. The actual number is in my article. Don't quote me on that, but I think it was like $2,000. But
Shannon in the chat room commented that Judy, the mother, died in 2011.
Yeah.
mhm.
Okay.
Oh, and
Right. Yeah. 2000, you said.
so
JD.
the sister, Debbie Glatzel,
Debbie.
did end up. She married Arnie Johnson.
Right.
They both died. I'm trying to think if it was recently or if I was reading an old article.
Debbie died of, I believe, cancer. Yeah, cancer. Yeah.
I'm trying to, but I don't remember if that was back in 2006 or if it was recent. Because I was reading an article in which they were interviewing Carl, and Carl confirmed that they had both died recently, but I don't remember what the date of the article was.
Right.
I
don't know.
But yeah, I mean, both David and Carl pretty much tried to continue their life as normal and best as they can. And, they're kind of concerned about the movie coming out, and they've kind of had to work against that their whole lives.
Right. Yeah, because I think Carl owned some kind of business. He owned a business.
I think they both own like construction businesses.
Yeah. And he was concerned about the backlash or the attention that he didn't want, which is understandable. I mean, you're trying to put this kind of story behind you, and you have no control over other people just bringing it back. Not just bringing it back, but bringing it back in the biggest spotlight there is.
Yeah, because they don't even use like alternate names or anything like that in the film. It's kind of very much out there as to who was involved.
Right. The only name they did change was the guy that was killed, Bono. They changed
Alan
to
Bono.
Bruno. Yeah, that's about it. Everything else they kept the same, to my knowledge. And then I wanted to go back on to the actual description from David, the 11-year-old boy that was possessed. Like he didn't actually say anything about 43 demons. He gave descriptions, and two different descriptions. The first description he gave of what he saw was a man with big black eyes, horns, and hooves. And then the second description came with apparently like later visits or later visitations or apparitions were during the day. And he said it changed to an old man with a white beard, flannel shirt, and jeans, which is, I mean, that's not your typical. Yeah, that looks like you.
Jeez, almost me.
Tim's a demon.
I mean, that's
True.
that's night and day, literally. There, you know, that's completely different, and not the description that I got from anyone else, the Warrens or the film or the book. Nothing. I mean, it was interesting. It was very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's it. I got more if you want to keep going.
More. I'll
Go
throw in when they found the I don't know what you want to call it, talisman.
The witch's totem.
Thank you. Yeah, they referenced this goo, this stuff on the floor, and they actually showed some of it. Like I guess looked like it was kind of dripping from the floorboards from underneath. I'm like, did anybody collect it? Which also made me think about
Easy, Egon.
Can you get me a sample?
which made me think that kid that was going all pretzel was like foaming and spitting shit. Like collect it, get something.
He's foaming
Take
and
a
spitting
sample.
because he's having a seizure.
Still, I mean, I would imagine at some point the stuff you could have, I don't know back then, but you could think about what you could look at. Take some blood. I mean, he's already hurting, so get some blood drawn while you're there. I mean, you could look at the level of different things in the blood.
Already
system.
hurting.
Yeah, they'll never even notice. They'll blame the demon.
Just clock him in the head with a plate and get some blood. He's fine.
But you could measure levels of different enzymes or anything in their body to see what was going on at the time. And then you have that goo that's just dripping there off the floorboards. Like my first thing was like, get some of that, put it somewhere. Like,
I don't get it. That would be my first thing. Like,
how do you miss that?
This is because it was earlier in the film, right after like the main opening, the 10 minutes before the title card, when Arnie is walking through the house himself, and right before he gets, he sees his first vision of the fake bad witch. There's that hole in the wall. And he looks through it. First and foremost, there's that whole scene where there's a hole in the wall, and he goes up to it and looks in it. No, you never do that. You never look into a dark hole with goo coming out of it.
No, never.
But there, collect the sample. But then, I mean, the flashback when they're looking at that, or you take a sample, you do it. We've all seen Ghostbusters. Yeah, I know this was in the 80s, but
still,
it was before Ghostbusters came out. But still, you take a sample.
You still take a sample. I mean, you just do it.
And this is really, like, I'm going to build on this because this is where I think we can really get JD riled up. Because
go for it.
The quote that stands out is when they're talking about that, they find that witch's totem, and they bring the photographs up, and here we go. It's a witch's totem used by Satanists in their rituals. And I was like, oh.
That happens at 38 minutes and 24 seconds.
Oh, and let's not forget, Satanist power is strongest at night.
Of course.
Did you know that, JD?
I'm quite a nocturnal person, so it makes perfect sense. I do my best work when the sun goes down.
I'd be a horrible Satanist. I go to sleep at 8 o'clock.
That even just trying to look at it as just a movie, that killed it for me. Because it was like you just combined two different things together and you're blaming them, and this is like so old school. This is so satanic panic bullshit, where you're like, oh, witches totem used by Satanists. Like, no, you're talking about two different people. And you're still wrong with both of them. Like, that really pissed me off. And I think that's when I first text you guys, like, oh shit, JD's gonna be pissed. He watches this.
That was totally invented for the movie. Well, I'm definitely not going to. But yeah, that was completely invented for the movie.
Right.
There, no kind of justification needed for the real case. I don't know. The only thing I can think of is that the filmmakers thought that that was kind of a sexy little, add in, considering the popularity of shows like Sabrina and Lucifer. It was sexy kind of padding to make the film a little longer, to be able to invent more of a narrative with which to make the Warrens look really cool.
I think what they're doing, though, this ties in. The overall theme here is that it ties in with the fictional. Let me stress that the fictional group, Disciples of the Ram.
Yeah,
which is throughout the Conjuring universe. They mentioned that in several of the movies, and that's what the old man priest was researching. Like his entire basement of evil shit is all from the Disciples of the Ram, which is a made up bullshit Satanist group that, again, they push the blame onto Satanists, and it's just I was like, this is just typical Ed and Lorraine bullshit.
So since I didn't see the film and it wasn't clear to me based on the synopsis that I read, what was the end game here? What was the point of having this one little kid?
Why did you curse the kid?
Yeah.
I mean, that's where you get into so we get the idea that the priest had a child while he was still a priest, and that girl was the main antagonist of the entire story. The witch or whatever, Satanist or whatever the hell she is. It sounded like she became that by wandering through these tunnels under this priest's house out in the country. God knows what happened.
By the way, like, he's not going to win Father of the Year if he's just letting his kid wander around tunnels.
The demon-filled tunnels under the farmhouse. But yeah, so why though? I think it had something to do with, was it returning to hell that you had to give 3 souls? That girl had to give 3 souls to return to hell, or promise Satan 3 souls. Something along those lines.
It's the power thing. It's because it was a curse. You had the curse, and it was
why pick the
deal.
Kid? Was it random?
No, it was like there were certain things. You had to have a kid, a religious person, which was Ed, and then you had to have the innocent, because the girl, the suicide murder, that is the other subplot.
Oh yeah,
the other fabricated subplot with it was Katie and Jessica.
It's really interesting. Jen just reminded me of this, that there's witches, supposedly tunnels under Whitewater, Wisconsin, that the witch covens used. So you start wondering, how much of this did they just pick and choose from different different things?
That was a big part of the McMartin trial too, was the idea that there were these secret tunnels underneath the school that the teachers and stuff used to abuse and traffic these kids. So like secret underground tunnels, that's another old kind of trope that they're digging up.
I like Aaron's.
The McMartin trial is exactly what led to my job.
I like Aaron's comment, based on a true story. There is a state called Massachusetts.
I am so glad Aaron's in.
Very
Ron.
nice.
Hey, Aaron. What's up, buddy?
Worst suicide watch ever.
Man.
Wait a minute.
But you had the
1 hour, 37 minutes, and 35 seconds.
the what did I call him? The B team priest in the prison. It's like when your star quarterback goes down. We're gonna just bring this guy in. He's like asking the girlfriend, is it time? She's like, yeah, fool, start reading from the Bible.
He's already flailing about.
I mean, he's basically doubled over, lawn chair style, reverse.
Yeah.
And you're wondering if it's time to start the exorcism. I'm like, what's going on here?
Yeah. Yeah,
if I can return to that for a second,
sure.
I would just like to say to anybody that's watching that doesn't know, real Satanism has nothing to do with child sacrifice, animal sacrifice.
What?
I know, shocker, right?
Well, I'm not joining now.
Giving my card back.
But if you had any questions about real Satanism is about, you can pick up your own copy of We Are Satanists, 700 pages. I'm sure any questions you might have will be answered.
Nice.
Yeah, we're not interested in crummy souls.
Oh.
Is
Okay.
easy. It's at a bargain basement price. You can keep it.
I also
No, you go ahead.
I want to jump in and
Yeah.
just continue with the bad prison guards and the horrible suicide watch. Is that there was absolutely no reported paranormal activity associated with Arnie while he was in prison. None.
What?
The
Wait,
whole
whoa, what are you talking
scene-
about? The windows blew out.
Nope.
Serious shit
No.
going on there.
Windows blew
What?
out. He floated up in the air. I mean,
Phone was blown out, but not
here we
windows.
go. Harry Potter shit again. Floating up in the sky. No, none of that fucking happened. Nothing. Nothing. I mean, the guy.
Well, I don't know, Kenny. Snitches get stitches.
Oh,
That's snitches get less jail
you
time
just
too.
took this
You
up
know,
to a whole new level.
I only just now thought of this. In the real life case, I don't think there's ever any mention of when or why the demons leave Arnie.
They talked about
do.
Well,
the curse was
because the judge said no.
Oh.
That's why.
remember the test they did in the movie though to see if he was possessed while they were in prison
Yes.
with the holy water and the religious relics. They kind of get back to that. The demon was they had the witch woman had to complete the curse. I guess it wasn't complete yet.
Right.
And that's how they approached it. And then they got into the curse can be broken.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably just because the movie just needed to end at a certain point.
But in reality, though, they went with they tried to do the defense of demonic possession, but the judge threw it out immediately. He not only threw out the idea, but he actually threw out the defendant's witness list. So all the priests and the paranormal investigators, whatever, he threw it all out and said, no, we're not using it. So the defense changed to self-defense. And that's why your demons were exorcised. As soon as you went to self-defense, demons were all gone. Everything's back to normal. It's cool.
And I'd like to point out in the real case, both Arnie and his landlord Alan Bono had been out drinking very heavily prior to them getting into the altercation and Arnie stabbing him to death. So, maybe spirits were involved, but not necessarily the demonic kind.
These kind.
The only spirits I believe in.
Yes. They were in an episode of TV show The Haunting. The demons where demons dwell. That's the TV show. Yeah. I think that was an episode though of a series. I don't think that was the made for TV. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. There was a made for TV movie, and then I think there was an episode, but I could be confusing them. I also want to point out that the whole quote, the courts have dealt with the existence of God, and now they'll be asked to deal with the existence of demonic spirit. That was not Ed Warren that said that. That's what they portray in the movie. Like he was doing his whole badass thing. He did not say that. That was actually the lawyer that said that during the trial or right before the trial. He's the one that told the press that. I mean, they're not a really big deal, but I mean, I hate that Ed was just getting credit for anything. I just don't like him.
So I'll go into like the biggest. I'm glad Aaron's here because I'm sure that he'll enjoy this. But the biggest pet peeve of mine for any medium or psychic, but for the show was. So I'll set the stage here. You have a stranger that shows up in a strange venue at a law enforcement detachment or office, and this person says, we need to see this criminal file that's still under investigation and unsolved. And the officer says, no, by the way, we can't find one of these missing kids. So the stranger looks at the officer and says, easy, I'll take you and show you where the kid is. So the officer says, sure, which I would imagine an officer would, not because they believe that there were psychics, but just because they're like, if you show me where this dead body is, I'm fucking arresting you.
It might be a suspect.
Right there. I'm sure like any officer would be like, please take me. Let me ride with you. I bring some buddies.
Don't worry about everyone in the van.
Yeah. So this stranger takes the officer into the woods, recreates the murder with extreme detail, and then shows you where the body is. Now, I'm going to imagine an arrest would happen, or at least, you would be a strong person of interest.
Interest.
But instead, the officer says, "Holy shit! You know what? We'll give you the entire file of our investigation of a felony murder that is still unsolved and still ongoing. We're going to give that to you."
Oh,
So there's two things about that. I hate that shit. And the second part is I hate that it's portrayed that someone out there can do that for a family.
Right.
I won't get to it. I'll go down a bad rabbit hole. But if you can find someone's missing child and you weren't doing that 24/7, or at least on a regular basis, like, I don't know if you claim it's a gift. I don't know what you're doing with that gift, because that's some shit. So this whole time there's a missing kid, and she could have done it regardless. If he would have given her the file, and you would have given that child's parents, or that person's parents and family, siblings, and you would have given them at least some type of closure. Just
the movie kind of portrays that like in an hour. Like, oh, you need a case solved? All right, no problem.
I got it.
Boom.
I got it.
Bam, we did it. We're there. There it is. This is where it happened. This is where the other body is. We're good. Can I have what I want now? Can I have the case file? Yeah, we're good. Okay,
we're going to let you go too.
In and out,
and directions to the morgue.
Like, what was that? Like Domino's delivery in 60 minutes or less. We're good. We're good to go. Horrible. But yeah, I agree with you. Like, if you really had such a power, then you definitely should be using it to find all these missing kids. And I don't know I think we touched on it, but there's thousands and thousands of missing kids just in the United States that you could be helping. You could be at least helping the families find them or bring closure to them. So much more you can do instead of, chasing demons and making money off of lectures.
There's actually a good article in the most recent Advances in Parapsychological Research number 10 that they have a very long article looking at the ability of psychics to help solve cases, and written by parapsychologists, and they found they're not effective.
Oh my.
I mean, if they were that effective, why wouldn't every department have their own personal one? I'm sure there's no shortage.
I like his first comment that you put up. That's great. I call that a clue. Ding, 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 ding.
We
got a winner.
We call those Scooby clues.
Oh my goodness.
Like when the first officer rolled up on Arnie and he's covered in blood and he says, "I think I hurt somebody." That's a Scooby clue.
That's
well, at least that officer had his hand on his gun. Jesus.
Yeah.
He's not like, "Oh, okay, did you solve a murder?" Thanks.
Oh.
Well, we beat this up pretty bad.
I have one more thing, and it's more about the Warren's greed than anything else. And so I'll just touch on it, and then I'm pretty much done with my list. So according to the 1981 article that I dug up, it says even before Johnson's case, Johnson is Arnie, even before his case went to court, Lorraine Warren speculated to Lynn Darling, who was a reporter for the Washington Post. And she says, quote, will we have a book written about this? Yes, we will. Will we lecture about it? Yes, we will. When she was asked whether she had started talking to any movie producers about the case, she responded, "No, we're not. Our agents at the William Morris Agency are." So, like, that was during the freaking case. That was when it was happening. And instead of the concern being on, hey, is this little kid okay? this other one that we think is demon possessed is going to jail and prison maybe for the rest of his life because of a murder that, you know, they kind of helped in their line of logic. The Warrens kind of helped that along. But instead of concern for that, they were concerned with, oh yeah, we're going to write book, we're going to have lectures, and we're having a movie deals. Our agent is going to handle that. We're going to make money off of this. And that to me was like, that was it. That was showing me how much exploitation there is when it comes to the Warrens and the families that they allegedly help. They weren't in it for the helping. They weren't in it for the families. They were in it for the money. So that's it. That's all the points that I have for this shit of a movie.
I'll finish up real fast. When Lorraine is at the retired father's house, I guess, and he's like, follow me into the basement. And he gets up and goes to the basement. And she stands at the top of the basement and can't see him. And she's like, hello. And there's no answer. And she goes down in the basement. I'm like, nope.
Tim, she was leading with the rosary. She's fine.
She's fine. My next one was the woman that killed the retired
Yeah.
moved through the room with smoke like a ninja, cut his throat, but could not kill Lorraine on the floor. And instead of killing Ed, blew some shit in his eyes that made him blind. Okay. Just if you would have killed either one of them, you would have succeeded right there.
Yes.
No, Tim, it's even before that. After she killed the priest, if she was simply would have picked up the revolver.
Yes.
Yeah.
And let's not forget
Over.
the priest was her father.
Mm-hmm.
That was her dad. So she killed her own dad. But yeah, she moved. Like, that caught me off guard. I was like, whoa, wait. She was on the other side of the room. She's already got magic powers. Okay.
Playing the Luke Skywalker trick in the last Star Wars movie. I'm over here. No, I'm not.
No, I'm over here. But yeah, and then, yeah.
These are not the demons you're looking for. Other than that, I mean, there's three things that there's three times I have that she could have killed him. Each time I put dumbass. You missed.
Demons are stupid, I guess.
The guard, the possession. We talked about it. But what's this thing about breaking the curse? Like, you break the altar. I think we kind of touched on like who wrote the laws? How did we get these laws? And I even put, then why don't you make the altar out of freaking steel instead of wood? I mean, it just looks like you would think ahead and plan that somebody would try to.
How'd she get the altar together? Like, she was skinny. There ain't no way you lifting that. That was like a good 7-8 inch thick slab.
Super demon powers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Demon.
Right,
now we're just picking on
Demon
movie
force.
details now.
Oh yeah, I love picking on movie details though.
I love it.
All right, that's all I got. Dave,
all right, that's all I got.
That's it for me.
anything, JD?
Well, not so much. I mean, I think the movie, if you want to watch it for entertainment purposes, that's fine. I think there's plenty of better movies out there that, somebody could better occupy their time with. I'm personally not happy with, the way it continues to perpetuate old and trite stereotypes that have a better chance of being believed by a certain crowd who follows somebody named Q online. The tendency to, take those kind of things at face value. I think as far as the real case goes, Ed and Lorraine Warren certainly are guilty of exploiting it. But I think too, there's to kind of play off of what Kenny was talking about. There's a quote from the defense lawyer for Ernie Johnson. He said to the Washington Post during the trial, "Everyone is interested in this case. Everyone. We got calls from Australia, from Switzerland, from England, everywhere. People are talking millions when they talk about this, not hundreds of thousands of dollars, but millions." So I definitely think from the very beginning. And another thing I'll say, in one of the articles that was interviewing Carl Glatzel, he specifically said that the Warrens kind of came up with that defense and convinced Arnie Johnson and his lawyer to enter that, because they thought that, I mean, maybe the Warrens believed that to be true. I don't know. But basically, the idea of using The Devil Made Me Do It as the defense was an idea that came from them. It wasn't something that Arnie Johnson came up with himself or the defense lawyer came up with himself. So when the defense lawyer points to other cases in England that kind of had a precedent to say to the judge, this isn't as crazy as it sounds, he might have been correct in that sense, but it wasn't an idea that he himself had. Carl Glatzel said this is something that Ed and Lorraine Warren came up with themselves. Mm-hmm. So, all in all, I think it's kind of a shameless cash grab. If people want to enjoy the film as fiction, that's fine. But I hope that people at least are interested enough to go out and look at the real facts behind the case and not just take the movie or the Warrens in their book at face value.
Right. And I agree. Like Arnie, as far as I could see, Arnie never said that he was possessed. He never said demons made him do it. He actually didn't remember. It was an altercation and he blacked out, which I can understand that, very violent and probably drinking and all that stuff. So he didn't remember, but that's what he said. I don't remember. Not that I was possessed.
And Carl Glatzel had said too that his father, who was also named Carl Glatzel, never said anything to the author Gerald Brittle about his son being possessed. So as far as the book goes, that was something that Carl Glatzel maintained was completely invented by the Warrens. And then later when they co-authored the book with Gerald Brittle.
Yeah. From what I've read, it sounded like Brittle just went on his own and did a lot of stuff and took on the role of psychiatrist, doctor, detective, and all that. Was like, well, he's quoted as saying like, well, the research, in my opinion, it's definitely demonic case. I'm like, you're a fucking author. You're an author, dude. That's just stay in your lane. You don't make that determination.
Research. I don't think that word means what they think it means.
You keep using that
Sure
word.
that.
All right.
That's our fifth tortured soul.
Anyway, hey,
We're 4.5 tortured souls tonight.
Good horror movie, but trying to say that it's based on a true story, awful.
Yeah,
same.
I mean, as a horror film, again, like I like the first two in the series, in this particular series, better. Just as a horror film, knowing what I know about the people in the case, I thought this film was a complete clusterfuck. I mean, that's pretty much it. It was just very hard to watch. Them glorifying two people that just outright exploited people, and I find it just horrible and in bad taste, and just I don't have enough words to say how much I do not like the way they are portrayed, and how followers of them and admirers of these people are going to take this film like, yeah, this is one for us. Look at them. Look what they did. Look how great they are, and that they're kind and all this. And
yeah, I mean, if it was pure entertainment, that that's one thing. But to kind of go out of your way to paint them as heroic figures, especially then, when you have to create this kind of fictional foil of, these evil Satanists are out here getting little kids possessed and killing priests.
Yeah.
At night, because it's at nighttime, because it's when your power is most strongest.
Let's not forget at the end of the film, Ed and Lorraine, who crawl out of a tunnel and the cops are showing up. Not sure who called the cops, but there's two dead bodies in there that they have to explain. Like one's throat is cut, the other is like all crab walking distorted. Like,
dude, that is a good point that I missed.
How do you explain
that's
that?
the next movie.
if
Oh.
demonic possession was not a good defense in a murder case or like the homicide case, then what the fuck are they going to plead? How are they getting out of this?
See, they could have had like a really cool moment where they walk into the court and they just like drop the body in front of the judge or whatever, and they're like, "How do you explain that?"
Should have done that before they killed her or got rid of the demon. Bring her in on a chain and hey, check this shit out.
Maybe it's not even so much about what happened with Arnie Johnson. Maybe when it says the devil made me do it, it's actually referencing the people that the Warrens, had to get rid of to get out of the situation alive.
Ooh, that's a good twist.
Ooh.
I like that.
That could definitely be part of it. I think the Arnie thing was the main theme and idea behind that title, but that would make sense too, though.
Yeah.
The subplot kind of.
I was gonna say, speaking of twists, somebody who, and I wouldn't divulge who it was, and I don't remember who it was anyway, but there was a member of the Church of Satan who said, if they really wanted to make like a good twist for the film and they really wanted to make a movie that was interesting, they should have had the twist be that, he's not actually possessed. It is just, unfortunate mental health issues that are going undiagnosed. And here come the Warrens who are, parasites and just totally exploiting this case for their own benefit. I would watch that film.
And then they go to jail.
And then they go to
jail.
So there would be exactly 4 of us that would watch that.
I think there would be a few more.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe that one just
maybe
gets like a
400.
Netflix release. It doesn't go into theaters.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Damn, Kenny, I'm still pissed off. I missed that. There's 2 dead bodies where you're at.
They're having their moment where like Ed's like, oh, I forgot my pills again, and his wife is like, oh, here's a heartfelt moment. I have your pill. I have an extra one, and I'm going,
pill, dumbass.
There's 2 fucking bodies in the house. How are you explaining that to the police that are right there?
If I was those 2, I would have jumped out of that hole. Cops didn't see me. Run your ass down that hill and into the woods.
Yep, I'm out of there.
Be in trouble.
Yep, absolutely. Because like Lorraine's prints are all over the office.
They had a pass, man. They solved the case for the one cop. They're good. They're good.
Yeah, they're good.
They still got to explain how they broke into the morgue, and there's no cameras or anything in there either.
They left a note.
I owe you
a glass window and
a cleanup crew for the body that's laying in the corner.
For ugly naked guy.
We weren't doing creepy sick things with the bodies. We promise.
Hey.
Hey now.
I don't know.
God.
A lot of squishiness going on there. All right.
I'm glad I'm not drinking. Okay, well, before I want to start out, I know JD's. We're really happy that you came on. I know I'm sure Dave and Kenny think the same way, and I really appreciate it. I appreciate that you came on to talk about your very specific knowledge about this, because I don't have that type of knowledge, and I thought it was very good for the show. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to say thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And if you have like anything coming up or anything publishing coming up, take some time and self-promote right here.
I just this past week released another episode of my podcast, The Devil in the Details, talking about the true story behind the movie The Exorcist. So if you enjoyed The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, and just can't get enough of demonic possession, go check it out.
I listened to it. It's awesome. Highly recommend it.
Thank you.
That looks like the thing I found under my house. Am I in trouble? Damn it, Kenny!
Black goo dripping down there too.
Well, I'm going to leave all the evidence just laying around. We don't need to collect it.
We don't need that.
We don't need that.
Okay.
That's pretty much all I can talk about. I have another article that I submitted, but I don't have any kind of timetable for it. As soon soon as it's out, I will have it up on the Facebook page for The Devil in the Details. If anybody wants to check that out.
And your podcast, where can they find your podcast?
Spotify, Apple Podcast. I think it's on Stitcher. And I write articles for Skeptical Inquirer. My most recent one was about the Netflix series Sons of Sam. And then there was one about another demon case. Just lots of demons, man. Demons everywhere. You'd think with all these demon cases, like you have some kind of like hard evidence or something for it.
Demons are sexy.
They are, but so elusive.
That's because they're not real.
Yeah, you can say if anybody reads anymore, you can check those articles out at skepticalinquirer.org. And yeah, the podcast is on Spotify, Apple Podcast, pretty much anywhere that you go to listen to podcasts.
Awesome.
I like that.
Cool.
The old post-it note defense. Okay, Kenny.
Let's see. I got the next big event that's coming up is in August 20th to 22nd. It's the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash. I'll be out there. I'll have my booth set up, which all four of us know about because we were all together last weekend. Hanging out behind the booth and taking turns. I like that. Tim and Dave actually took turns behind the booth. I saw them asking or answering questions, which is cool. So I'll be out there for that. And I'll also be part of the dunk tank thing. So if you want to come out and you just have a beef with any kind of skeptic, you want to dunk me, go ahead. It's for charity. I'm cool with it. Besides that, September 25th is the Para Unity Conference. And I'll be setting up there too. I wasn't before, but I am now because I just talked to the organizer and set it up. So I'm going to be setting up my booth there too. And then there's a couple other things in the works. And I know I can kind of give a hint that the October issue of Skeptical Inquirer will have something from both myself and JD in it. So yes, so look for that. That's the print copy. So if you're not already subscribed, I suggest you subscribe or pick it up at your local bookstore, like Barnes & Noble does carry it. So you can check it out in October. So it actually has something to do with the Halloween season. So check it out. And that's all I can say.
Dave?
Well, I think Jen and I are going to be doing some more episodes of Side Chat, our podcast, and you can find the older ones and hopefully the newer ones in a week or two on the espsi.center website.
Nice.
And we'll see what else happens with travel coming up.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Ooh, a mystery.
Couple projects in the works. We'll see what happens.
Cool.
For me, basically this very thing next Saturday. Yeah, that's
Awesome.
what I do. That's what I do.
Whose turn is it? Whose turn
Dave.
is it?
It's mine.
Dave's? Okay, cool.
So we'll be doing a math episode.
Oh.
No, just
Ooh.
kidding.
I'm like, what? What are we doing? How do we do that? Okay.
We're just going to put math problems up, see if you can solve them.
Oh, okay.
Just kidding. No, we won't do that. I'll pick something slightly more fun.
Okay. Slightly.
Slightly.
Sweet.
All
All
right.
right.
So here's my next test to see if I can
Oh,
actually close the show. I think I can.
Fingers are crossed
This
for
is
you,
good.
man.
This is good. Thanks
can do
everybody
it.
for watching. It was
It's
good.
good
It was
weekend,
good
everybody.
chat.
Come on, Tim.
See you guys.
Here we
Have a
go.
good night.
You can do it, man. I believe in you.
And all that you say, oh, you'll get in there.